Morning, everyone.
Good morning.
All ready to go, I hope. Well, what do? We talk about what we talk about.
Mm.
And what we talk about is nothing new. It's the same old story, repeated many times. So it might be recognised or resonated with or seen what it's actually pointing to, because the words are not the thing. They are just pointers to it.
Yes.
But is there anyone who is not alive right in this moment, without putting that term life on it? We can put consciousness on it, or awareness on it, or myself on it. All words that come up in this thing called mind. And in the other thing we call time. Is there such a thing as time when you look at it? Past is already gone. The present, you can't grasp it right in this moment because it's spontaneous. And the future hasn't arrived yet. All taking place in this thing we call mind. Well, if you can't give time a concept anywhere, what can you say about mind? Show me your mind if you think you've got a mind. You can show me your hand, your finger. And the cat's giving me the finger there. Bit rough. Anyway, yeah. So, what's it all based on? Well, down through the ages, so-called ages, which are time again. There have been so-called people who have seen beyond this seeming personal belief that they are, and seen that prior to that personal belief or that person, there is an amazing functioning, what I call, for a better term, as intelligence energy. I don't use the term God, but a lot of people use that term. But they set this God or intelligence energy apart from themselves as a separate thing that's far greater than what you or I am. But those that have really understood it will tell you there is only that one. There is nothing other. So they call it non-duality. Non-duality is not something we have to go and find and make work. It's always been so. There's another way of putting that is one without a second, not two. Dualism is two or more than one. But what is one without the other? It'd be non-dual, wouldn't it? Be the absolute, be all that there is, if there's nothing other than that. Or as other words they put it, the great perfection. It would be and is the great perfection. It is the absolute. It is those things already. The way they point it out, and when you look and see to where they're pointing to, you'll see for yourself, or that believed in self that you are not the self. You're not the person. You're not the body-mind entity. And can you separate yourself from what all this manifestations appear in the seemingly space-like awareness. Now, can you postulate or think of anything at all that could be outside of space? Well, try and say, what would it be in? And you realise it'd have to be in something. It'd have to be in space, wouldn't it? So that means that you and I and everything else are in that space. But then, can you separate yourself from the space? Or separate for anything from space? You realise it can't be separate, you can't take it away from space. So that's what they call space-like awareness. They put the term awareness on it. Now, you can't say what awareness is except that it's got a lot of different terms you can say it seemingly is. You can say it's life. You can say it's a basic screen on which everything appears in. Even the space appears in that awareness. You can say it's consciousness. All sorts of different labels. We split up all these words into more. Constantly dividing. Constantly separating and dividing. Leave it as it is. What is means unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected. No preference, no comparison, no partiality. Everything, so-called thing, as it is. Just as it is, right here, right now, in this presence awareness. And as I say, we've knocked off time a few minutes ago. No past, no future, and this present instant is constantly transient, constantly changing. So no static point in it anywhere. Now, if you are that one essence, what is this you that you believe yourself to be? Well, we believe ourselves to be this body, mind, entity. And not realising that seeming entity, like every other thing, is appearing and expressing in that basic screen. In that you can't separate that from the emptiness, from the space either. You can't separate yourself from the body, you can't separate anything else from space. What would it be in? Can anything at all exist or even appear outside of space? So when they call it the cognizing emptiness, cognizing is knowing or understanding or seeing, you're cognizing something. We see the emptiness. It's the very first thing you see is space. If I ask most of you, you'd say, what's the first thing you see? Well, you'll see the chair, or see the room, or see the end of my nose. Yeah. We all go for things, but not just seeing the very first thing you're seeing is that space. When they say it's closer than your breathing, you're nearer than your hands and feet. They mean that exactly. It is. You can't get any closer to it. And you can't get any further away from it. Because it'll have to have a point in it somewhere to move away from it. If it has no static point, it is always the whole of the completeness, the absolute. So it can't be measured. Go outside and get in a plane and try and fly to the end of space. See if it has an end to it. And then you can't even comprehend or understand the Big Bang when they talk about it. Where was an explosion on? What was it in? How could it explode or implode if it wasn't in something? So it had beginningless, endless, timeless, spaceless, birthless, deathless, bodiless, mindless. Yet it contains all of these things. Nothing can be separate from it. So, there's your godliness if you want the God. That's the seeming one intelligence, one energy. And who's it greater than? We should call it a higher power or an omnipresence, an omnipotence. Who's it greater than? Or who's it lesser than? Only in the seeming division. Only in the seeming separation. Can you separate it? Separate yourself from space, if you can. Take the elements out of that body. See if you can separate your body from them. We think we're a body, mind, appearing in the space, and we're something separate, a thing separate apart from it. But when you realise that body is made up of the space-like, of the elements which are appearing in space also. Body's made up of air, water, fire. Earth, fire, water, air and space, emptiness. Separate yourself from the air, if you can. Take that element away. Separate yourself from the water. Your body's 70 or 80% water. Take the fire, the body temperature. See if you can. When you realise you're not separate from these elements, and realise the elements themselves can be broken down into subatomic particles, into pure intelligence energy, into the pure emptiness. So it's only how it's vibrating, patterning and seeming forming that we've got any manifestation whatsoever. And the manifestation is very wondrous, amazing, intelligent way it manifests. Implies it's, you can't say it's greater, there's nothing to be greater than, but it is a total power, a total presence, a total intelligence. Magnificent, wondrous, amazing. And it vibrates into the opposites. And could you know duality without non-duality? And could you know non-duality without duality? Could you know good without bad? Could you know pleasure without pain? Could you know happiness without sadness? So that's the way it manifests or expresses through its opposites. Something to express to or for or against or whatever. Totally expressing to something other, to know itself. But before you put the self on it, it's all the one self knowing itself already. It's the pure knowing, it's fused with that intelligence also. And could that intelligence be there in this pattern, this body making, if it didn't have the pattern? If it didn't have the body with its brain, its sinews, its eyes, its ears, its skin? Couldn't express. Yeah. The same with all the things in this manifestation, not only on earth, but in the so-called heavens, the sky, the space, and everywhere else. All things. And it needs to express in its opposite for it to be recognised, known, or understood. But space is silent, empty and still, isn't it? Appears to be. And would you want to be that? No, we want to have the pleasures and the goodness and the wondrous things that are going on, enjoyment, but couldn't realise that they were pleasures, wonders and goodness. We didn't have the opposites, but we don't want the opposites. Sorrow, the sadness, the fear, the anger, the depression. We don't want them. We think it should be all one-sided. But nothing at all could express. If it was only the one essence, it would still be the silence, the stillness, the emptiness, zero, zilch, nothing, no thingness. But in this amazing wonder, intelligence is patterned into shapes, forms, and things. And you and I, whether you realise or not, are things. We say, no, I'm this body, I'm this person, I'm something more than that no thing. But everything is the no thing, and the no thing is the everything. But which we've discriminated when we learnt the words. And the words is this thing we call mind. But what is mind? Show me a mind. Is there such a thing that you can say is mind? Innately you know there's not, because you say my mind. Just to say my body, my house, my car, my coat, my hat, everything we've given to this me or mine. Not realize who does this me or mine, no, who does that belong to? Where does it begin? Where does the body begin? Is the body something separate and apart from everything else? Well, and say, investigate and have a look and realise it's just another thing appearing in this cognising emptiness. And they tell you in that cognising emptiness, the emptiness is doing the cognising. Tell you that the emptiness is form. It's the emptiness that's vibrating into all these different pattern shapes and forms. And the pattern shapes and forms it's vibrating as haven't changed their true nature. They are still only the emptiness. The emptiness is form, and the form can be no thing other than the emptiness. For the emptiness to change or make things, it needs to vibrate. It needs that throb or pulsation of energy to move through it, like the ocean. Water can be quite calm and still unless something stirs it. A movement will go through the ocean, form a ripple, which will form a wave. Are there ever any two waves the same thing? They're not the same. They're still made up of water, which the water is made up of gases, which are made up of nothing but a vibration of energy. They still have ripples and waves and foam, spray and all the rest of it. It's broken down. So that's what's happening here. We've taken on this persona, this mask, and believe it is me, and we suffer accordingly because it's only me that's fearful. It's only me that's anxious. It's only me that's depressed or guilty. So me is the cause of all your psychological suffering. And the effects are the anxiety, the stress, the guilt, the shame. They're the effects of the cause. So-called karma. Me and other than me. Investigate these things and see for yourself. And what you must come to realise then, that I am already that one essence. I haven't moved away from it. I haven't changed. The appearance is there. It seemingly changed, but the appearance is like a dream. How many appearances did you have in your dream? You go to sleep at night, and you can be in the mountains, you can be in the on the ocean, you can be in a plane, you can be in a car, you can be in a house, you can be in a city, you can be anywhere at all in that dream, doing all sorts of activities and things. And it can be snowing in the dream, it can be flooding, anything at all goes on in that dream. But when you wake up in the morning, had your body moved off the bed in the night? No. How many words had come out of your mouth during the night? Wouldn't be too many. There might be some gasp or a word coming out, but you don't know anything about it in the dream. Now tell me this. Where did those mountains that you were climbing and moving around, where did they go to? If you're on the ocean, where did the ocean go to? Where did all the other people go that were in the city? Or where did the city itself go? It all disappears in a dream. So you see, this creation we take to be real, which is there for billions of light years, couldn't be any more real than what that dream is. Because the dream is caused if you can't say time, but to say a split second even. It doesn't last very long either. But this dream has a seeming continuum. And it seemingly lasted for 90 odd years here, measured in time. 92 years. And it's changed. It's constantly changing. And it's believed to be dragged along over the years, and all sorts of things have happened in it and continue to happen. So we take this earth we're sitting on, or the room you're in, we take it to be real. But when that life goes out of the body, instead of, like in the dream, the mountains and everything disappeared, you're going to disappear. And other so-called patterns, shapes and forms will still be on that same earth. So we're bound in this appearance, and a belief in this appearance. In your dictionary, different belief is an unquestioned acceptance in something in the absence of reasoning. Acceptance of an alleged fact without positive knowledge or proof. We have this capacity of reasoning, which is a very useful capacity. And it's functioning through this body, but who's doing it? Do you think the me is doing it? The self, the personal self? Well, ask yourself what's your next thought going to be. Ask yourself what's the next action's going to be. You blinked your eyes, didn't you? Did you just say, I was going to blink my eyes? You looked at something around the room. You heard a word, heard a voice. Did you say, I was going to do that? The doing is happening, the thinking's happening, the seeing's happening. It's all functioning naturally because it's functioning in the so-called dreamlike world, like all the things took place in the dream. But we take this dream to be real. Until there's an awakening to the dream, not from the dream or as the dream, but awakening to it. That's all it is. And who would be awakening to it? You see that the believed in entity that thinks it's awakening to it, it doesn't exist. So the dream would be recognising itself as a dream. No dream character in the dream. It's all Maya, as they say, it's all illusion. It's illusionary appearance. So that's what needs to be looked at. It mightn't be for you. You might have other things to look at and think it's more. I've got to get more and got to become more and do that. But for this same pattern, that's what was needed. The recognition that I wasn't what I believed myself to be. There was a little bit more than that. And I still say I and me. I still say the sea's blue and the sky's blue and there appears to be a rainbow and water in the mirage. I still say all those things. I still say that there is this body, mine. But the difference is the knowing of the truth about them. The old scriptural saying is, know the truth and the truth will set you free. A lot of these old scriptures for thousands of years, seeming years ago in the so-called time, were pointing to the one essence. But over the seeming time again, we add more to it, or take one away, put a different face on it, and lose sight of the simplicity of what was being pointed to and what needs to be recognised. I talked about the cognising emptiness. That cognising is going on all the time. But we need to recognise where it's coming from. Who is the cognising? What is the cognising? And we'll tell you straight, it's the cognising emptiness. The emptiness that has that capacity of cognising. So in realising that you are the emptiness, that the cognising is experiencing through, and all the conditioned beliefs and things we've taken on board that you're bound in are your problems. Open to it, recognise it, and see it's this presence awareness, this immediacy, the sense of presence expressing through that particular pattern you call the body, with the brain and all the things it's got into it. It needs something to express through, some seeming pattern, expressing through that pattern, and be open to it and let it happen. See what happens in your life then. See how much longer you can be bound to all the fears, the anger, the jealousy, the envy, liking this and not liking that. Not wanting to acquire anything. If it comes, it comes. If it's taken away, it's taken away. And not wanting to last at any particular time. And you can be taken away earlier, you can be taken away later, who knows when it's going to happen. And who cares? But when we see the loved ones around us disappearing, we don't like it, we don't want that to happen. We want it to continue all the time. But recognising that life itself is transient. It's constantly changing. And out of it is coming more life. So if more life is coming out of it, and not this particular personal life, could you care less whether you're here or not? Because you know that life's going to express again and again and again in all the particular pattern, shapes and forms. And it won't be time-bound, the same as it's not time-bound right now. Though we've taken ourselves to be here a certain amount of time. It'll all be spontaneous, and when you recognise it for what it is, it'll be effortless. And the sense of being well will be there. Well-being, as Nisargadatta puts it. Nothing wrong anymore. If there's nothing wrong, can there be anything right? It can't be. So is there nothing wrong or nothing right? What is it? It's just as it is. Shakespeare told you there's nothing either good or bad, pleasant or painful, happy or sad. And the Nisargadatta tells you nothing can trouble you except your own imagination. Realising you are imaging in, creating mental images. Who's creating them? They're being created in that pattern. If you like to take delivery, which you will, well, then you're bound by the delivery that it's me that's doing it. If you see that it's happening, just like the tree out there is growing, its roots are in the earth, and they're sucking up the elements out of the earth, they're giving it putting the life energy which is converted into the sap. The sap is the life energy which is going up and into the branches, into the twigs, producing leaves, flowers and then fruit. And see that in all of nature, the way it's functioning, how it's functioning in this pattern. And realise you are nature itself. You are nature, you are the absolute. You're not this infinitesimal little minute life, personal entity that thinks it's going to change the world. You need to get the intelligence energy coming together and forming, which it does into, it'll form groups and things like that that will bring about the changes. But it's better to think you can change the world than it is to think of that as personal entity, I think, because at least you're going to leave some of your worries and concerns behind to take that down. But anyway, know the truth, and the truth will set you free. I've given you a long enough spiel today. A few of you have turned up, and you're all pretty good on this Sunday morning one, because you're all well versed in it, most of you, and got the right understanding, the right grasp it, and are able to express it. And the words you'd express it in might be a lot different to the words used here. But they're still only the words, and the word's not the real. But people, other so-called people, patterns might be able to resonate with that particular expression that you're putting out. And those of you that are here initially for the first time and just looking at this stuff and have doubts and understanding there and or questions, wanting to, don't hesitate to ask them. You'll get the right answer somewhere along the track. Might be from me, it might be from somebody else, or in the very questioning in this atmosphere here might enable those answers to come up innately within you, and you'll see for yourself. But it is the way home, that's for certain. I know it because it took me there. So get into it.
Hello everyone. We'll have a few very nice comments, welcoming messages, and a nice comment from Rachel. Prior to all listening, gaining of identity or personality, I am. I am that I am. This is the non-dual. No need to engage in the body-mind concept. What will be, will be. What is, is. When we recognize this truth, all is well. Everything smiles.
Thank you, Rachel. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Glad to hear. That's Rachel from Warrigal. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Glad to hear you going okay.
Beautiful. And Tanya has a question. Does cognizing means knowing? Knowing emptiness?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, another name for knowing.
I think cogito is the origin, and that's the...
That's my translation of it anyway.
Yeah, no, it is. Cognizing is knowing.
Knowing,
is knowing again.
it's a knowing emptiness, or
Yes.
not that we are knowing emptiness, but the emptiness itself is cognizing or knowing.
Yeah, cogito is thinking. Cogito ergo sum. I'm thinking, therefore I am. But yeah, thinking is cognizing, is knowing. And John David, my heart is full listening to you. Thank you for everything you have shared with me over the years. My love and gratitude will always be with you.
Ditto,
Yeah.
John David.
Thank you.
Same to
John.
you.
Yeah, and thank you for the beautiful $20, which we arrive at 17 in paying our lunch, and you're the only one who does it. Thank you. And yeah, we got a couple of nice hearts. Thank you, Barbara. And Steve, regarding the dream, each decade of life, when looked back at, feels like a dream. A line in the Beatle Penny Lane about Norse comes to mind. Penny Lane is my ears, and in my eyes a four of fish and finger pies. In summer, meanwhile back, behind the shelter in the middle of the roundabout. The pretty nurse is selling poppies from a tray, and though she feels as if she is in a play, she is anyway. Beautiful. Yes, it is like a play. And then what a good perspective to actually just look at the have a glance of that past lives. I do feel also that, the age when I was between 20 and 30 is somebody else's past life, not even mine. Think of yours when you were in your 20s or 30s.
Yeah.
Amazing. And oopsie, I lost it. Matty, good to see you, Bob. And Dale, good morning. And Jane, brilliant. Penny Lane, so much truth in some music lyrics and poetry. And Tanya, it feels like there is something to acquire. I just don't know how to go from being conscious of to just conscious non-duality. Being conscious of to just being conscious. Can you say something about this?
Well, there's absolutely nothing to acquire in the first place. It's always the totality. So it's a matter of discarding.
Yeah.
That's what you think you need to acquire, whatever it is, whatever concept you have about it, discard that. And come back to the basic essence. I am already that.
Yeah.
That, what is that?
Yeah.
That is what is. What is right now. You don't have to put anything onto this isness. Does the isness need to acquire anything? It's just what it is, unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected, no preference, no partiality, no comparison. But when we put the label on, I've got to become or acquire this, I've got to learn this, I've got to get a livelihood, I've got to get wellness. When we start putting all these terms on, instead of leaving as it is, what brought you into existence in the first place?
Yeah.
While you're in the womb, you'd even started then, but before you're out, you just say, well, when I come out, I'm going to want to acquire this or acquire that. We didn't until we learn words. When we learn words, then we will start wanting to acquire, to amass, to gather, to accumulate.
Yeah.
And our parents reinforce that. Without that, the little child's very close to it until he learns words and picks up words.
Yeah.
That's when the problems begin, with the learning of words, which can be very useful in this manifestation, but can be, because they vibrate a movement of energy like everything else, they vibrate, and the boundaries we put upon them are the opposites. Good, bad, past, future, pleasant, pain, happy, sad, positive, negative. Put all those opposites on them, and then we take one end of the stick and not the other, and we've got to try and get to the other. Not realising it's still the same stick anyway, and it's already there if you look closely enough.
Yes. Also, you are conscious of something, and at the same time you are conscious of being conscious of that something. So they're not exclusive. They being conscious of paying attention to something. Let's say you're paying attention to whatever is there, that's the consciousness of. But if you are aware of that whole scene in which you are paying attention to that something, that's this consciousness kind of, like all embracing. Being conscious of breathing, you don't have to pay attention of it, but to it. But it is registered, everything's registered. That's sort of a registering capacity, not registering items in the consciousness, but the very capacity. Just like the capacity of seeing, not seeing this or that, but the capacity of seeing is what you are. The seeing, hearing, thinking, the capacity, not the objects in it. But if the objects pop in, of course, when you focus on consciousness, something, I'm conscious of the body, I'm conscious of the mind, or I'm mindful of the whatever. But the being aware of objects is still a potentiality. So that's another angle. And now, Jane says thank you, and Taz says thank you, and Tanya says thank you. And I had been wondering that for a while, Tanya says. And Mukti, I know it because it took me there. Love you, Bob, and so grateful for your persistent pure pointing. Yes, that Mukti was quoting you, that it took you there. Yes, and Richard, Penny Lane, what a brilliant observation. And Jane, I am what is right now, full stop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Johannes, good morning. Thank you for pointers. And Jane says, brilliant. And Jane, you are on fire today, Bob. Regardless. And now, Steve, when Bob said last week, standing firm and absolutely certain that you are not the body or not the mind, you are that essence, it helped to clarify in a simple, straightforward way. Thank you, Bob. That is wonderful to hear. Yeah, he can deliver the one pointer, one liner that, yes, if it doesn't strike home, you can just kind of sit with it and it will. But it's glad that it did with you. And full start, says Tass.
Full start.
Full start.
Don't start.
Don't start.
Yeah.
And so clear, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you.
And this is it for now with the commenting. Unless I missed something, then I'm sorry. We love you too. We have message of love. Yes, and waiting for more questions, comments, and assertions, and there we are. Alvaro, there's also a thank you message. Feels so complete. Peace, joy, muchas gracias. Beautiful. Yeah, that's wonderful to share that also. I mean, the things that I've seen over the years here, that so many people would come and share their own understanding because they gained it through following pointers. That sharing, for anyone who listens to us, you can see is just so close, is already there, is only obscured by the little conceptual veil. And if you see how many others found home because they looked at the moon, not at the finger when Bob was pointing, that's also a message of hope. I mean, it's not a hope for future, it's the hope for actually seeing through the veil just now, right now. Because, it's as Bob said, how far is that space? How far is that? How far can you go from it? How can you even conceive of being far away from it? It's there, it's here, it's right now, right here. It's just what obscures it. And what is it? Just a thought, image, usual thought. No, I'm not that yet, I'm not there yet. Well, laugh at the thought and see that you are. What you are is a secondary problem. You may be handsome or stupid or young or old or black or whatever, but that's a secondary issue. You are. That's home. The isness, the existence. Then the concepts, what happen after I am, you can change them.
They change by themselves.
They
Anyway.
change by themselves, yes.
No thought stitch in your head at all.
That's right, yeah. And now, Rohan. In an old video of one of Bob's talks, he says, "Don't go there." I found it to be so powerful. The habit of going into mess of thinking is so strong. It is so much easier to just not go there in the first place. Beautiful.
Exactly, yeah.
I heard quite a few people. Dave was another one who says this was the pointer that was taking him through the darkest darkness. Just don't go there. Whatever the concepts, whatever the mind is playing. Although, of course, it feels like, but who is there? Who is to go there? Don't go there. Don't even look. Who cares? Who cares?
And where are you going to go?
Yeah.
Where's the there?
Yeah.
In a concept, in a thought?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's like you when the mind is seducing you with the juicy drama, just ignore it. It's yeah. It is a good one. One can never get the wrong end of one-ended stick, says Richard.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's always just the one stick.
Always the same stick, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't go there, don't start. Not that there is anyone to go anywhere and there is anyone to start or stop.
Or as they
But
say in the mafia, forget about it.
Forget about it. Yeah, yeah, drop it. Drop it. Stop it. They also say stop it.
Yeah, that's right. And the other one,
Yeah.
stop it.
Mm. And then instead of being a smart ass, oh yeah, but who is there? There's no one there to start, stop, go. No one there. Who cares? I mean, gosh, this is just wasting a pointer. Like, who is to stop it? Well, whoever hears the command. If the ego hears the command and it believes it is in power and in control to stop it, yeah, be my guest. Use the ego. It won't be it. It's just a belief. But it's something's hearing. Something's hearing. So when someone hears, don't go there. Whatever is hearing it, it may resonate and respond. Call it pure consciousness, call it awareness, call it ego, call it me, call it know me. Who cares? Something's there to respond to the pointer. So if you prioritize response to the pointer rather than being a smart ass and discarding the pointer, well, the chances are that the veil will drop. Now, Tass. Yes, Jane, Bob is on fire today. An external flame that can never be extinguished. Thank you, Bob, for waking us up to the dream, patiently and lovingly, until we do. I love you.
Thank you, Taz. Love you, yeah.
Yeah.
There's none of it my doing.
Yeah, it's just happening.
It's the life expressing.
Yes. And Richard says, agreed, Tassos. Yeah. But at the same time, yeah, it's all happening. But the gratitude is such a sweetness. It's such a sweet form of love. Think of people who are so painfully ungrateful. How disgusting, how sad. Whilst if you connect with that part of your heart, which is all gratitude and all love, yeah, life is beautiful.
If there hadn't have been somebody else down through the ages to pass it on to me, how could I ever have heard it myself?
Well,
Somebody,
that's how it plays out.
Yeah, that's the way it plays out.
Yeah.
All along the so-called path, the so-called track. Being guided to that someone from the inner, innate life that is here. It's not even inner, or the innate life that's here. Took me to where I had to go.
Yeah.
Where I had to be. And they're doing the same right here, right now.
Yeah.
When it's no longer useful enough, it'll disappear.
I hope you will be useful for a very, very long time.
What's this time you're talking about?
Yeah, I know. And still, there is this beautiful human adventure, which contains, life taking you to Nisargadatta and life pouring you through, and that human adventure, that dream, that vacation from eternity. Yeah, in that human dream, I have vested interest for you to be needed for a very long time.
Yeah. Well, it's brought you and I together.
Yes. And now we have Dino. If one cannot separate the mind from oneself, how do chemicals that affect thought, like anxiety drugs, work? Are they not targeting something specific and not the whole body? That's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, this is brilliant. The whole medicine is absolutely brilliant in the way they manage to manipulate neurotransmitters by changing chemical balance in the body And that affects the thinking. Absolutely. The diet, what you eat, affects the thinking. The weather, it affects the thinking. Everything affects everything. Everything is interconnected. There is not one thing that can be isolated and separated.
And the life hasn't gone through those bodies that came upon, worked out these chemicals in the plants and things like wherever they come from.
Yes.
That's the way it happened also.
That's right. Yes. Mm. Yeah, every emotional response has the, like the mental aspect, which are thoughts, images, and the physical aspects, which are chemicals in the system, the cortisol for anxiety or whatever other hormones and neurotransmitters, whatever. It's a complicated machinery, but it's totally interrelated. It's totally amazing.
And the patterns that discover them, the so-called people that or inventors or scientists or whatever who discovered them, if that life wasn't going through them, how could they discover anything?
That's true. That's true.
So it's the same life that's expressing through everything.
Yeah.
Or godliness or life or word, whatever you like to call it.
And the same life will also take you where it needs to take you regarding anxiety. I mean, there are people who increase the fermented food in the diet and they get serotonin produced in much bigger amount, and it actually cures some of the symptoms of anxiety or depression. And some others are drawn to particular therapy, constellations or other therapies, or mindfulness based or behavioral. And yet others will be drawn to go to the psychiatrist and get the drug, and it will do the job. Life is distributing it so intelligently.
Yeah.
It's nothing wrong. Everything unfolds as it should, as Desiderata says.
Yeah.
Life is unfolding as it should.
Yeah. There's not this personal, petty, minute entity that's doing it. Recognise that you are the life itself. It's the life in it that's enabled you to blink your eyes,
Yes.
grow your hair in your fingernails, replace cells in your body. And each and every one of those cells in your body is suffused with an innate intelligence, energy.
Yeah. And that life gives you thoughts, that life gives you the behavior or reaction patterns, which are anxiety. And the life gives the life produces the chemicals that are related to that anxiety. And the life produced, the scientists who discovered those connections and designed drugs that address the issues. It's like, Bob, sometimes you say, give credit where credit is due. If not for that life essence, nothing could be existing, designed, interacting, playing out. No dream, no appearance, just zilts. And now we have Johannes, could you say something about the energy shift when we wake up from the illusory self? Thank you. The energy shift, when you realize.
Well, the realisation of recognising all the conceptual imaging, you realise it is not, the word's not the real, and it appears and disappears. Instead of fixating on the word, the sensation, whatever, it's left as it is, and the energy, there's more clarity there when the clouds not blocking the sun. There's more clarity in the sky when it's not, all these things, concepts and ideas are not blocking that innate intelligence energy within you. Well, there's more clarity there, and there's more cognising goes on, more in that clarity. Any intuitive thought that's necessary to be recognised will be recognised. Where we might have had a glimpse of it down through years before and never taken no notice. But instead of living from behind the 8 ball from me, trying to become something, you're living in the actuality, the reality right here and right now. And the spontaneous reality can happen much more naturally and easily than what it does when it's related to the me and then taken from there into some conceptual idea. Drop all the blockages.
Yeah, and the byproduct often is, I mean, that was my experience and experience of quite a few people that I spoke with, that when that fictitious image, that little man or woman inside that believes itself to be an ego or the driver of the bus or in charge, in control, having will, when this one is not sustained by the steady flow of attention anymore and it collapses, that flow of attention, that energy is available for being more awake in a way to distribute it to other senses. Suddenly, you know, I was in the head, in the me all the time, and now suddenly, oh my gosh, it's beautiful here. Wow, can you hear it? Can you feel it? Can you sense it? All that energy that was locked in sustaining that fictitious individuality or identity is now free, and it is utilized. Well, I had few months where I couldn't really sleep. I mean, I was sleeping 3-4 hours maximum, just really lying down in the darkness, in emptiness and silence, but not really sleeping. Before the body adjusted to a sleep pattern, which you do because you don't really have much more other things to do. But yeah, that's the byproduct of the shift. And now Rohan says, here's too many more years, Bob. Here's too many more years. You point out that we should hold no preferences, but very hard not to hold on to this one. Thank you, I agree. Yeah, there is a strong preference, at least from that community, for you to hold on and exist and be.
I just told you I got no say in it.
And we know, yeah, of course. Yeah, we have no saying either. I have no saying for that preference to arise. It just arises. Yeah. But as much as I have saying about, you know, giving you a good, healthy, wholesome food and exercise and love, that will be the case.
Yeah.
And
yes. If you look after the pattern, it helps.
Yeah, it does. It does. If you, the appreciation, it helps, because that's a recognition of the miraculousness of the life. You know, when you appreciate everything you see the liveliness, the aliveness, the godliness behind it, behind the pattern.
You don't put bad fuel into your car, do you? Put good fuel in it, and keep oil, look after it, give it a wash, keep it clean.
Yes.
And you get a good performance out of it. You know?
Yeah. And now, Steve, can you talk about how you feel about death, both your own and others, from this perspective? How do you feel about death, your own death and death of others, perhaps people who are close to you maybe, or others?
My own death I'm not concerned about at all. I might be unhappy if I knew how I was going to die, but hanging up what? Well, I think of something like that where it wouldn't be too comfortable.
But if you don't think about it.
Yeah, but as what's the name? It was one of the good authors, you know, who had a spiritual experience in during the Spanish Civil War when he was taken prisoner. And when he was locked up, this experience came to him, and he said, death became a laughing impossibility. And it is. What was born?
Yeah.
Only the thought I am was born. What's going to die? The body's going to break down, but it's not the same body I had when I was a little child, or when I was a young man, when I was in youth, when I was pretty vigorous and pretty, physically could do a lot of activities. You'd want to keep it like that, wouldn't you, if you wanted to hang around? But don't want the ageing process to happen, but it's happening.
Yeah.
Who to?
Yeah.
That's the way it is.
How about the death of others?
Well, like everything else, the whole manifestation is transient. You don't want them to go, you like to keep them there. But no matter how hard you try, they're going to go anyway.
Yeah.
Some of them can be suddenly in an accident or something like that. Others can be through some illness or
through betrayal.
yeah.
And they can go this way too.
Yes, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, the feelings arise, of course, you know, like even not just the death of people. I mean, there are pets, animals, insects.
I'll tell that one again about death.
Yeah.
One I've told in many of the talks is coming from the Arabian Nights, I think. This rich merchant had a servant, a very faithful servant, and he sent this servant down to the marketplace to get him his supplies for the week, you know. Says, go down there and pick these up. And the servant says, go, okay, and he goes down. A short while later he comes racing back. Master, quick, lend me your fastest horse so I can fly to Samaria. I've just met death down in the marketplace, and he gave me such a fearful look that I think he's going to take me, so I want to get away from him, escape him. So he hopped on the fastest horse and flogged it out of the stable yard down the road heading for Samaria. And a little while later the master's gone for a stroll, and he goes down the stroll to the market, and he meets up with Death again, and he says, hey, listen, Death, why the hell did you give me put that so much fear into my servant? You frightened the hell out of me. Death said, well, he says, I'm sorry. He said, I didn't mean to put fear into him, but I got such a surprise at seeing him here in Baghdad when I noticed tonight I have an appointment with him in Samaria. He said, I gave him a fearful look. He said,
yeah.
We never know.
Yeah. One could say if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. But of course it doesn't mean that it has been predestined. It just means that there's no time and everything happens just as it happened. And Rohan, a kind of walking trance. Oh, that's a long one. Good. A kind of a walking trance I have frequently had quite up from boyhood when I have been all alone. This has often come upon me through repeating my own name to myself silently till all at once, as it were, out of the intensity of the consciousness of individuality, the individuality itself seemed to dissolve and fade away into boundless being, and is not a confused state. This is not a confused state, but the clearest of the clearest, the surest of the surest, the weirdest of the weirdest, utterly beyond words, where death was an almost laughable impossibility, the loss of personality, if so it were, seeming no extinction, but the only true life. That's from Tennyson. I thought it was your experience. Probably was. I mean, we, especially as children, we have those experiences.
We do. We've had tastes of it all through our life when you look back on it. There were moments when everything seemingly fell into place naturally and effortlessly.
Not everyone writes such beautiful words like Tennyson, but yeah, I believe that children are quite close to it. And this saying mantra, whichever mantra, your name or whatever.
Well, Tennyson, I think it also said it's closer than your breathing, nearer than your hands and feet.
Adrian, thank you, Bob, for opening the bottle for me. I find I can't go back in now. You look and sound great, mate. Love you, mate, and Kat, kisses. Kat, also thanks for sharing the sleeping thing. I find I'm just lying alert at night some nights and only few hours sleep. Like there is a different state being experienced. How wonderful. Beautiful. Yes.
Yeah. Good on you, Adrian.
It's working you. Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm just so grateful that so many people share that that one could say, in lack of better words, a success story, because it is not really a story and it's not really of anyone succeeding at anything. But at the same time, it kind of feels like, oh, right, okay, yeah, people are popping like mushrooms after the rain. Here, next one. They're all waking up, so it can't be that hard.
Yeah.
Waking up from the self, from the individual, from the hypnotic trance of individuality, and into the dream, not out of the dream.
Waking up to the
To the
dream.
dream. To the dream.
To
Yeah.
the self, the one self,
Yeah.
not the personal self.
Mm.
Thought just stops. Seeing no thing, yet it is seen. All these things are just things recognising things. Look around the room and see for yourself, without putting any label on the things, on the wall, on the pictures on the wall, on the furniture in the room. You know what it is without putting the labels on it. You know, not just one homogeneous blob out there. It's all discriminated. Look out the window and you see the plants, the trees, the flowers and everything out the window. Yeah. Not labelling what each and every one of them is, but you can you know that they're not all together. They're different patterns, different trees, different flowers. Then to label them, you've got to put a name on. Some of the names you can't forget, but you know.
Yeah.
So that's seeing no thing. It's the no thing, because everything is no thing.
Yeah, there is registering and there is labeling.
Yeah.
Registering is plain, pure, just like animals register. They can navigate between objects in the room, and labeling is redundant.
Yeah, and yet it is seen. Seeing no thing, yet it is seen.
Yeah.
Seen and know what it is in the seeing.
We got Julia. Oopsie. I felt bad that I have been attending meetings without donating. Oh, Julia, come on! You don't. You gave him a beautiful birthday gift for I don't know how many meetings. Don't you even think this thought? And also, this is how you call it? Voluntary donation? No, it's not. It's not something we expect. We're grateful when it comes, but it's not something that is obligatory or whatever. It's Thank you for the thought, but just drop it. Don't go there. And now what she says, I felt bad that I haven't been attending without donating. Thank you, Kat, for the reminder. Stop it. I was just acknowledging John. And thank you, Bob, for selflessly and patiently sharing our wisdom and pointing the way. To anyone else who might read this, Bob is a pensioner who asks for nothing and probably will not ask. Despite COVID-19, Bob continues to point the way, but the donations he received and can definitely use have dried up. I know you would never ask, so I hope you don't mind if I do, Bob and Kat. Oh, darling. If everyone of the 30 plus people watching can donate $10 to sailor.bobadamson.com, I'm sure it will help to pay for some of those expensive supplements which help keep Bob in this dream with us. Oh, you are such a darling, Julia, but we have, we got threats from people that this will go to the taxation office, so. And the life threats also, so I don't know. Life is working as it should. The fact that we don't receive donations, it may be actually in our favor at this situation that we are in for last 6 months. And Richard laugh in with Bob. Tanya, nothing to acquire really, just puzzled thought. I thought of wanting to experience non-duality, but thought doesn't experience anything. I am aware that is enough. That's it. It is enough. Yeah. Thought doesn't experience anything. Yeah. It's just like, yeah, well, what channels would thought experience through? Thought doesn't have a brain unless it hijacks you. Sometimes, we can view that idea of the conceptual self or the ego as a virus that completely hijacks the whole body-mind system, and it seemed to run it. But it really is just a pattern, just a thought. It doesn't have any power to feel. Beautifully said. God, I was thinking about betrayal, injustice, toxic people, and I remembered myself betraying someone close to me, thinking I'm doing good for him from love. Yeah, so you had certain viewpoint on the situation, and then you changed it. So you felt you were doing good, and then you changed, and you realized it was a betrayal. Yeah, see how unreliable your thoughts and your actions are. The safest thing is not to take credit. It's like, people move on, they do evil things, but they have their motives, they have their stories, but who cares? Ultimately, it is life. Life is moving. Every figure on the chessboard is no one doing anything. Is no one guilty of anything, either doing good for someone or from love or betraying someone. It is concept either way. It's a story either way. You move what you conditioned, what life moves you to do, and you can have positive story about it, or you can have negative story about it. But everything is as it is. And Theodore, I know that desire is an obstacle in achieving fulfillment. How do we transcend desire?
Anyone?
Transcend desire.
Oh, Nisargadatta answers that very simply. He says desire is the fixation of the mind on an idea.
Yeah.
He says get it out of its groove by denying it attention. In other words, don't go there.
I think that there was another beautiful quote from Nisargadatta. I don't know if I'll remember correctly. Desire is a memory of pleasure, and fear is a memory of pain. So really what desire is another concept, a memory. How to transcend it, recognize it for what it is.
Yeah, if it's the mind's fixating on an idea, will stop them from spontaneously functioning,
Yeah, and moving attention between sensory information, just kind of freely being free for hearing, seeing, tasting, taking different roles, whatever's required. Yeah, but it's a good question, but I would also just highlight an obstacle in achieving fulfillment. I think it is kind of more organic to recognize fulfillment rather than trying to achieve it, because, and I know that this is probably just the way you're wording things, but when there is trying to get rid of desires in order to achieve fulfillment, that reinforces that idea of me being in power to stop desiring and to get a fulfillment, rather than just realizing that recognition of the desire as just a floating pattern in the awareness comes from the space which is beyond the desire. So you are already recognizing that pattern from the space of fulfillment. So not only desire is recognized, but fulfillment is also there. Rather than achieving it or striving for it, because that may take forever. The trying is the very opposite of achieving, because trying has like predetermined even the way that even the way you actually picture the idea of trying. I know that example of NLP, like make a picture, image of your mind of you trying to open the door or trying to lift the chair. And what you see, are the door open or closed? Trying is always, it kind of presume the repeated attempt without success. So recognition is the way to go, because that is already available every moment. Yeah. Dale Allison says there is a donation link. Thank you. And God, how can I condemn this unbalanced people? How can I condemn this unbalanced people? I was doing it in the same way they did. Beautiful. How can you? Exactly. Yeah. How can you condemn anyone?
That's right.
Like, yeah, nobody is a doer. They all machines. In a way, one could say they conditioned to do whatever they do. And you are one of them. We all have conditioning, certain patterns of reactions, responses, behaviors. And yeah, how can you condemn? When you understand that there is no one there, you also understand there is no one anywhere else. There is nobody there in the Pope or in the Satan or in anyone. They all just a bundle of patterns playing themselves out. Yeah, beautiful recognition. And now Jane, the old fixed idea, it creates all this ease. Let ideas flow unfettered like clouds in the sky. Absolutely. And Rohan, Kat, trying also presumes that there is something wrong now and needs to be changed by some effort. Very good point. Absolutely. Yes. Johannes, so I never do anything. Doing happens through this body, mind, without a doer. Spot on.
Exactly right, yeah.
Yes, yes. Thinking happens, decision making happens, choices making happens. They all interdependent with the rest of the universe.
Yeah, we can see it if you look closely. You know, right now, as you're listening to this or talking, whatever you're doing, have you stopped breathing? Has your heart stopped beating? Hair and nails stopped growing? Food stopped being digested? No. All those things are happening spontaneously. Even the thoughts need to come and go too.
Yeah. See, also, look at animals. They don't have concept of an individual doer. They don't have the brain network creating that selfing pattern, that taking credit pattern. And they do everything. They look after themselves. They have youngs. They age and they die and they find food. Without the doer. Only humans have that narrative self that always comments, brings the overlay of a commentary. But without that commentary, life goes on. Yeah, breathing's happening, digesting's happening, thinking's happening, registering's happening, labeling's happening, all of it. Nobody does it. And yeah, Tanya says thank you to Jane.
Oh.
What?
Nothing new there?
Not at the moment. Oh, wait, no.
Oh, thank you all. It's been a very good input. We'll be a little bit of investigation,
Mm.
and yet it's quite easy to see or recognise the false as false.
That's right.
And in recognising the false as false, you must be left with the truth.
Mm.
And it's the truth that sets you free. Free of the belief that there is a person there that has some self or independent nature that can stand on its own.
Mm.
It's quite easy to believe that, especially as we've reinforced it all our lives from the first time we first started to learn words, and our parents told you were this, that and the other, and then your schools told you and strengthened it.
Yeah.
Then we strengthened it ourselves by constant repetition and belief in it.
Mm.
Been a lot of unnecessary suffering going on because of that. Some people can get through without worrying too much about it,
Yeah.
but others it becomes overwhelming and makes it look a little bit further.
Mm.
That's what happened here in spite of myself.
Yeah.
I was forced to look somewhere else.
That's right. Tanya says, thoughts just appear. They have nothing to do with you. Yeah. Just
That's
like
right.
sounds, traffic sounds or bird sounds, they appear in the consciousness. Thoughts appear in the sphere of thinking. Sights appear in the sphere of seeing. Sounds in the hearing. Yeah, just appearing. And Jane says, thanks, Kat. You are the love that keeps it all together. Oh, thank you, darling. That's just so beautiful. And love to you both. And love to you. And
Yeah,
life is a comedy for no one, Johannes. Absolutely. What a cosmic joke, isn't it? Yes. And Tanya, thank you. So much love and clarity of expression is here. So grateful. And lots of beautiful hearts.
yeah. There's so much there too.
Yes. Yes.
Where does
Yeah.
where does it begin or end?
Mm. Yeah, it's beautiful. And Rohan, thank you, Bob and Kat. Much love and gratitude for the pointers. And thank you for
Yeah.
your beautiful input. It's
Yeah.
just such a joy.
It's been a pleasure to see Rohan
Yes,
open up along the way.
absolutely. Love you all, Tanya says. And Debbie, it is easy to see when it is pointed to so clearly. It's such a beautiful discovery, isn't it? It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful and effortless. And yes, so glad that it works. Lunch? Lunch? Lunchtime?
I guess, yeah.
Oh, we have Julia. I love you, Bob, and everyone here. It is lovely to have friends to share the wisdom expressed by this beautiful couple. So much gratitude and even more beautiful, colorful hearts. And thank you, Bob and Kat, and everyone. No one, Alison Dale. Yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you for
Thank you, yeah.
beautiful encounter and and lots of love.
Okay.
And yes, thank you, says Alvaro, and more thank you messages. So, and,
Love to you all.
love to you all.